Let's go blue. See this helmet? 3 straight Big Ten champs. Michigan does it. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't just a complete dismantling, but they got the shutout. 26-0, took advantage of a ton of turnovers and everything they needed to do on offense to punch the ball in the end zone, get those field goals from James Kerner. Michigan is 3 straight Big Ten champions, a three-peat, just like the Chicago Bulls, just like the Lakers, a three-peat for this team. Comment 3. Give me some threes down in the comments, guys. I love this, by the way. As we're filming this right after game, Jim Harbaugh, Tony Petitti going up to the podium, Big Ten commissioner, hands over the trophy. Harbaugh doesn't take the trophy from him. Has Zach Zinter with his 2 broken legs from last week against Ohio State. Zach Zinter accepts the trophy. Harbaugh in the back. They got to pull him up there. Absolutely snub Petitti. I loved it. Good on you, Jim Harbaugh. Mike Sanderson is your MVP. Comment 3 down in the comments. And you guys, down in the comments and description, go to chatsports.com/threepeat, chatsports.com/threepeat. They've got t-shirts, hoodies, hats, Threepeat shirts, Big Ten Championship shirts. Get your Big Ten Championship gear. Jack, Christmas bonus. Can't do them this year. Economy's tough. Thanks, Biden. Getting you a Big Ten Championship shirt. Me and you will wear them to Houston. Get your championship gear. Chatsports.com/threepeat. Link is down in the comments and the description of today's Michigan football report. We have got our instant reaction from this 3rd straight Big Ten Championship. Mikey Sainristal, Jim Harbaugh. Tough times on offense. The defense absolutely dominates. It's the Michigan football report by Chat Sports. Big Ten Championship edition. Let's go. And that is all she wrote for this regular season, for this Big Ten championship game, for this Big Ten season. And in a lot of ways, the last kind of college football regular season of all of our lives, all of our childhoods, as we go to these big conferences next year, this 12-team Big Ten championship game. Let's break it down. My Michigan football report, Big Ten championship instant reaction. No Will Johnson. No Will Johnson for the Wolverines today, but his counterpart in the backfield, Mikey Sainristal, was absolutely all over the place, forcing a couple fumbles, just absolutely destroying things. Will Johnson, he dressed. He probably could have played. Didn't want to kind of injure that leg injury, etc., from the Ohio State game, saving him for the college football playoff. In Michigan tomorrow will be, at least in my opinion, I think, will be ranked number 1 in the polls for the first time in 25 years and 10 months. Let's go to the instant reactions. Second time ever in school history. Now, this is a slanted stat because they didn't start playing 12 games a season in the regular season until like 2005, 2006. So, okay. But this is the second time in school history, back-to-back years now, both those, 2022, 2023. Second time ever, Michigan's 13-0 in a season. Your stat leaders for the Wolverines, JJ McCarthy, 22 of 30, 147. Blake Corum got himself 52 yards. Didn't look great today, but got in the end zone, both coming off turnovers. 2 touchdowns, 55 for him. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Cornelius Johnson, Mr. Steady Eddie, 9 catches, 64 yards for the day, coming from JJ McCarthy. It seemed like every single one of those was McCarthy catch, boom, 6 yards of Cornelius. 5 yards of Cornelius, 8 yards of Cornelius, all over the field. Iowa could do nothing on offense, and I kind of wish that Cade McNamara was playing today. I think it would enhance the storyline, but Michigan wins 26-0. Mike Sanderson is your MVP, but the record setter tonight is this man here. It is Blake Corum, 2 touchdowns tonight. Okay, and if Michigan could have, if they would have got inside the 10-yard line, the 5-yard line, they would have got him a third to break the record, but that is 24 touchdowns, I think, Jack. 24 this season. 24 touchdowns in 13 games, right? He scored in every single game this year. Blake Corum ties Anthony Thomas, 55 touchdowns, ties the record, all-time record in the career for a Michigan football player. 16 for 52 and 2 touchdowns tonight. One more note on the defense, and as we're looking at Blake Corum's stats, is that 11th straight game with a turnover for this Michigan football defense. Looking good. Nobody's looking good these days more than Blake Corum as far as Michigan is concerned. He is now tied for your all-time leading touchdown rusher. Number 2, the offense, guys. It did look ugly. I don't want to sugarcoat things because they got the win. The defense pushed the shutout. Michigan's probably number 1 going into the CFP tomorrow. But this offense looked ugly. JJ McCarthy played okay, right? His passing completion percentage was pretty decent, but passing from the pocket, it's been consistent in the entire Harbaugh era, but really in the JJ era, the Caden era, this championship three-peat era, it's always looked mediocre from the pocket. Wide receivers and tight ends just never got open tonight. Now, JJ completed passes, right? He had one pass early on over the head of Colson Loveland that I thought could have been picked. Was off, was just off in general. 22 of 30, 147. But he did get sacked. I think it was 5 or 6 times. We'll have to pull the final stats here. Negative 35 yards on those sacks. So not necessarily anything near a career day from the Michigan starting quarterback, the man who is now 25-1, the best record of any starting quarterback in college football over the last decade, JJ McCarthy. You heard that right. 25-1. Back-to-back 13-0 regular seasons. The best quarterback in the history of Michigan football. And in my opinion, at this point, the best quarterback in the history of the Big Ten. But I do want to tell you guys about Prize Picks, the sponsor of the Michigan Football Report. It's the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. You just pick more or less on player stats to win up to 25 times your money. Let's take a look at my picks this week at Prize Picks. I'm feeling the love from the Broncos. I'm going more than 224.5 yards for Russell Wilson. Also going more on Coldridge, a.k.a. C.J. Stroud, 264.5. Plus, I think Brock Purdy is going to have more than a half an interception against that vaunted Eagles defense. So those are my 3 picks. They're saying, James, what does that mean here? What does that mean? I put $5, I put $10, and I am winning just by picking those 3 right. You're going up to 25 times your money if you make a few more picks, up to 6 picks on a Prize Picks. And I love that they got a reboot policy. So if Russell Wilson, C.J. Stroud, or Brock Purdy, if any of those guys gets hurt in their NFL games on Sunday in the first half, they don't come back for the second half, I continue my Prize Picks. It's rolling without them. Reboot policy, it's got insurance. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports app that has insurance against injuries. That's why we love them. Get up to a $100 deposit match. You put in 50, they'll give you an extra 50. You put in 100, they'll give you an extra 100 at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You got to use the promo code CLNS. Link is down in the comments. Link is down in the description of today's Michigan Football Report. Now, let's get back to this Big Ten Championship recap with my guy, Jack Latteray, a.k.a. Young Harbaugh. Cornelius Johnson, what a day for this fifth-year senior. What a play for him. He was just kind of Mr. Steady Eddie from JJ McCarthy. 9 for 64, 5 yards here, 8 yards there, 7 yards here, etc., etc. The passing game woes, though. It was a dink and dunk offense all day. The thing that I actually liked in the second half of the TCU game last year was that when Michigan was down 14 points, 18 points, 12 points, 18 points, 10 points, the whole first quarter, second quarter, etc., it forced Michigan to have an aggressive passing game. Remember that pass in the fourth quarter to Ronnie Bell? What, just a dime right down the middle, 24 yards outside from JJ McCarthy. We haven't seen that really this entire season. It's all dink and dunk. It's 7 yards to a tight end, 5 yards to receiver, a little toss over there, etc. No downfield passing in the pocket. Everything is dink and dunk or JJ McCarthy rolling out, scrambling away from a bad offensive line performance and rifling downfield. Some caught, some are not. But I give some credit to this Iowa defense, okay? This Iowa defense is absolutely legit. It reminds me of the Michigan defense, right? It's up there with Ohio State. It's up there with Penn State. I think it was a good primer for Michigan to understand what they're going to go up against champions of other conferences, maybe Texas, maybe Alabama, maybe Florida State. Coming up on, in the college football playoff national championship, semifinals, etc. Rose Bowl most likely is where Michigan is going to play. We will be live, though, of course, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll ask you guys this question. Who is Michigan going to play in the CFB semifinals? It's not going to be Washington. It looked like on Friday night, Michigan-Washington Rose Bowl. Now, Georgia loses to Alabama. It's absolute chaos. It's Alabama. It's Texas. It is Florida State. They got the win tonight as well. Let's see what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow will be insane, but we will be live with you guys. So join us tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern. The rankings will be announced around 12 or so, but we'll do a full Michigan football recap of this game. Look forward to the college football playoff. Take your questions, etc., etc. We'll be live at 11 a.m. Eastern. Defense. Defense. gosh, this defense is just crushing it for Michigan. They absolutely are. Another shutout. Maybe the best defense in the history of this program. We'll dive more into the defense here in a second, but I do want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. As we are filming this, we hit 29,500 subscribers. So we need 500 more to hit 30,000. Help us grow to the next milestone. We are the most watched Michigan football show, most consumed on any platform. I'm talking WTKA radio, Detroit radio, YouTube, podcast, etc., etc., etc. Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. Subscribe and join the biggest community for Michigan football fans of any single show that covers the Big Ten champs. More on this defense here. 155 total yards for Iowa. Now, Michigan didn't do better, much better. 213 for this Michigan football offense. It came down to special teams. It came down to turnovers on this game, and these guys were making plays all night for Michigan. Our stat leaders, our tackle leaders for the Wolverines, Ernest Hausman with 8 tackles. Junior Colson with 8 tackles. Mike Barrett, Brad Moore. Now, there were also 3 players with 4 sacks, but I did just want to kind of talk about here turnovers. 3 turnovers for Iowa. They were all within the Michigan 20-yard line. Every single one of them led to points for these Wolverines, and that was frankly the difference in the game. It was the turnovers, it was the special teams. If neither one of those happens, this might have been like a 9-0 game, Jack. Honestly, it would have been like 9-0 or maybe 6-0. It was not going to be a big-time Michigan blowout. Clearly, I think Michigan felt confident that Iowa was not going to do anything on offense, but Michigan gets out there with the win. How about the defensive line, though, right? Let's talk about this defensive line. Josiah Stewart, Brad Moore. Those are your backups, okay? Braden McGregor made plays. He's sitting there hitting the quarterback, forcing turnovers today. Trap Money Benny, Rayshon Benny. Mason Graham got hurt early, came back, batted the ball down at the line. Just play after play after play. Chris Jenkins, the fumble recovery, all right? And I'm sorry, but I actually think that I'm forgetting his name at the point. The backer, not Chris Jenkins, Jack. Who am I thinking of? The Michigan defensive tackle, the sophomore. The Michigan's who? Yes, Kenneth Grant. I'm watching. I'm forgetting. I'm so juiced up, Jack. Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant might be the scariest man in America. He looks. They show his face on camera. He looks like he wants to just absolutely annihilate the opponent. He's so big. He's so fast. He plays with such intensity. Kenneth Grant is going to be a first-team All-American next year. And I'll tell you what, Kenneth Grant, mark my words, mark this right now, Kenneth Grant will be a top 5, top 10 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. The guy is an absolute athletic freak, and he has got the eye of the tiger. I was scared looking at Kenneth Grant in the camera here tonight in this Big Ten championship win. This Michigan defense, though, it might be the best defense in the history of the Big Ten. Debate me, bro. Debate me, okay? You debate me. You go back to 1997. Okay? I was a fan of that team. I was at every game in 97, okay? I was at the Michigan-Ohio State game. I didn't go to the away games. I was at Iowa. I was at Colorado. I was at Baylor, okay? I was at all those games. You debate me. I understand Charles Woodson. I understand Marcus Ray, Glenn Steele, et cetera, et cetera. This is the best defense in Michigan football history. This is the best defense in the history of the Big Ten. I rest my case there. How about this? Georgia loses. Michigan, I think, is going to be number 1 tomorrow, right? Now, you could get snubbed. You could get absolute bias and have Washington jump over Michigan. They go from 3 up to 1. I doubt it happens, though. I think Michigan's going to the playoff. It's the number 1 team in the country as Alabama holds on. I took a little nap, Jack. Coached the basketball today. Took a nap after the second quarter. Woke up third quarter. I'm like, okay, cool. Fourth quarter, Alabama's up 24-17 with 5 minutes left. Georgia gets the touchdown. But then Alabama just on some – it was a very Michigan-esque drive to win that game. They just ran the ball. Jalen Milroe ran the ball. They got the win. The Michigan will be in the playoffs again as the number 1 team. The committee will decide tomorrow morning who the opponent is. Texas, Alabama, and Florida State are our 3 options. But this season isn't over. We're where we thought we were going to be. We've been saying Houston or bust since January. Houston or bust. 13 down, 2 to go. You beat Alabama, Texas, Florida State, whoever that opponent is, in the Rose Bowl, January 1st, 5 o'clock Eastern. And you keep it rolling. Remind you guys, we'll announce that game. Whoever Michigan will play, the college football playoff final rankings tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Join us live here on YouTube. For this team, it's Houston or bust. You've got to win that semifinal. I don't care if it's Alabama. This is an Alabama team you got to beat for Michigan. It's the best Michigan team in 30, 40 years, maybe ever. This is one of the weakest Alabama teams, that's made the playoff at least. So Michigan's got to win if it's Alabama, which I think it probably will be at this point. Got to win that semifinal, get in the national title game, and then it is all hands on deck for a national championship. Houston or bust. Comment Houston if you love this team, if you love this season, and if you love Jim Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and maybe most of all, guys going up there in my power rankings, might be number 6 in my power rankings all time. Mikey Sainristil, the Big Ten title game MVP. Comment Houston if you love yourself some Mikey Sainristil. Join us tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, live here on YouTube. College Football Playoff final rankings and who Michigan will play in the CFP, likely in the Rose Bowl. Till then, go Blue.